Ready to soundtrack your summer? With Red Bull Summer All Day Play, you choose a playlist that fits your summer vibe the best. Are you a festival fanatic, a deep end DJ, a road dog, or a trail mixer? Just add a song to your chosen playlist and put your summer on track. Red Bull Summer All Day Play. Red Bull gives you wings. Visit redbull.com/brightsummer to learn more. See you this summer.
The right window treatments change everything. Your sleep, your privacy, the way every room looks and feels. At Blinds.com, we've spent 30 years making it surprisingly simple to get exactly what your home needs. We've covered over 25 million windows and have 50,000 five-star reviews to prove we deliver. Whether you DIY it or want a pro to handle everything from measure to install, we have you covered. Real design professionals, free samples, zero pressure. Right now, get up to 45% off with minimum purchase, plus get a free professional measure at Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions apply.
Honey, it's the 90s, remember? Microchips, microwaves, faxes, airphones.
Hey, well, as far as I'm concerned, progress peaked with the frozen pizza.
Hello, and welcome to episode 397 of the Filmmakers Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk filmmaking, from indie film to studio films to high-end TV and everything in between. How to get them made, how to make them, and how to try not to
royally F them up.
In our very, very humble opinion. I just realised I didn't pause to say the bit in the middle that you need to say. I just did it all.
No, I was just thinking, is it like... Is it because I get the first line of dialogue in our script? You've just deprived me of those very key, intro footnotes of getting to say a word or two in the middle of the podcast intro. It's devastating.
Yeah. I'm sure you are. I'm Giles Alderson, by the way, and the person who didn't say the lines in the middle that I said instead of is
Dom Lenoir. There we go.
Yippee-ki-yay, Dom Lenoir. We are doing, so far, if you hadn't guessed, lines from Die Hard 2, because we have on the director of Die Hard 2, Renny Harlin. Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's pretty exciting, isn't it? It's pretty exciting.
It's pretty damn exciting.
I mean, look, we are here to talk about The Strangers, and a large proportion the episode is about The Strangers, but Die Hard, I mean, it's one of those films that's, I mean, all of the Die Hard films, but especially for the first two, they're just such ludicrously iconic films. I mean, everyone has seen that film. Everyone has seen the sequel. It's just incredible, like, how much of a legacy it has. It's when you think about like the 90s and the heyday of like the golden sort of, the 80s and the 90s and those action films, and where action films met drama. This is just the absolute pinnacle of that, and it is iconic, and it was such an honor to be able to go back to those childhood memories and speak to someone who actually had such a big part in it.
Yeah, it must have been such a joy. It was just Dom on his own, solo mission again. And it was in person. So you got to sit and be with Renny Harlin, which must have been incredible. He's Finnish. If you don't know, Renny Harlin, film director, producer, is a screenwriter as well.
He's not finished, he's still going.
Hey! Oh no. You know that meme that comes on where it goes, oh no. That's what played when you just did that pun. He did direct, and he's known for the films A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Adventures of Ford Fairlane. Then he directed Die Hard 2, then Cliffhanger, then The Long Kiss Goodnight, and Deep Blue Sea. Oh my gosh. In the 90s, he was just a big star. 80s and 90s, really. Just incredible. What do you talk about with Renny in this excellent episode? I imagine it is.
In our matching black 90s jackets, we talked...
Well, that's you talked about that?
Yeah. No, we didn't.
You did?
Did we talk about... Maybe we did talk about it, yeah. I think we did, actually. I know I did. I mentioned it at the end. I said, I got the matching black jackets.
Oh,
that's an anecdote to end on, isn't it?
That is the best. He'll never forget you.
You'll never forget that. There was a moment when I was in the morning. I was like, "How do you dress for Renny Harlin?" I was like, "Do I put the Top Gun Maverick jacket on?" I was like, "No, I need to go a bit more restrained, a bit more like 80s, 90s action hero. Like what would an 80s, 90s action hero wear? Like wear the black jacket."
That's your 80s, 90s action wear.
Bit of jeans, a nice t-shirt, a Jaws. I think it was a Jaws t-shirt if I remember correctly. Bit of
full action, mate.
Getting right into the era. So anyway, we talked about making an iconic action movie with Die Hard 2. How to make a sequel familiar yet original, especially when the original was such a huge success.
Yes.
Working with Bruce Willis and the Hollywood system. Mm-hmm. And then we spoke about his new anthology, The Stranger series, and creating IP that spanned several films in advance, which is a really interesting thing to do with a studio and to get them on board with that. We also talked about casting new and fresh talents, setting the mood for a horror, and shooting Europe for America and vice versa, and how to create the looks and work around the tax credits.
Yeah, what a joy. What a joy. Some of the other films that he has directed, Cutthroat Island, The Long Kiss Goodnight, I think I mentioned anyway. Deep Blue Sea, we talked about. Cliffhanger, Driven. Driven's a great film. He got some little bit of shit back in the day, but actually this is Sylvester Stallone and Burt Reynolds just being brilliant in cars and having a great time, basically. Big action, big set pieces. Then he went on to direct Mindhunters, Exorcist, The Beginning, The Covenant, Cleaner, 12 Rounds, The Resident, 5 Days at War, Devil's Pass, Legend of Hercules, The Misfits, recently Refuge, which my producer of The Dare, Yared Lerner, produced as well, which has just come out now as well as The Bricklayer, which again just got released, and that one stars Aaron Eckhart, Nina Dobrev. Again, Yared Lerner produced this one as well, so really, really cool. And now we're on to The Strangers. Renny's latest film, which is chapter 1, and I believe there is 2 and 3 as well. Is that right? They're coming.
Yes, yep, they are.
Excellent. Well, on that note, it's time for us to play the interview with Dom. But first of all, I think you're the wrong guy in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Story of my life.
Here it is. This is Renny Harlin, the amazing, the exceptional, the superstar director, Renny Harlin, chatting with Dom Noir on this week's Filmmakers Podcast. Sit back, relax, and
it's time to kick ass.
Here it is. Enjoy.
Do you know what today is?
Today is the 3rd day of our 3-day road trip across the country.
Or our 5-year anniversary. What a cool little town. I actually like this so much better than a hotel. I bet the people who live here are really happy.
Tough crowd, right?
Hi.
Hi.
Do you hear that?
Hear what?
The silence. It's nice. Is Tamara here?
No.
I think you have the wrong home. That was weird.
You are the messiest eater on the planet.
Lock the front door!
Trouble on my right. I've been facing trouble almost all my life. My sweet love, won't you pull me through? Everywhere I look, I catch a glimpse of you.
Why are you doing this to us? Because you're here.
Okay.
Cool. We'll start
we
here.
recorded it all.
Yeah.
And it will be used against me.
Renny, welcome to the Filmmakers Podcast.
Thank you very much.
So we're here to talk about the filmmaking process.
I love it.
Which is very exciting. I mean, especially given your epic filmography.
I never thought someone will say that, but that day had to come, which is great.
I mean, for me, I grew up on like the kind of 90s action films that you made. Like, Die Hard 2 was like my bread and butter. I watched that hundreds of times. And that was kind of what got me excited as a kid. And probably later on got me into film. So got a debt of gratitude, I'm sure, to your your epilogue of movie making.
That's amazing to hear. Thank you.
So let's talk about the Strangers. I watched it a couple of days ago. It was a very exciting screening. I jumped out of my seat on many occasions.
Excellent.
I'm not particularly horror trained in terms, but it definitely got me. And I was very impressed by how atmospheric it was, and the mood and the tone and how slick it was sort of put together. How did you sort of get involved in the project? Like, how did it sort of come about?
Well, first of all, thank you for your kind words, and I'm really glad to hear that, because my goal was really to make a movie that definitely pays homage to the original, The Strangers, which came out about 15 years ago, which when I saw it, I literally jumped out of my seat and I was so impressed. and what's so special about that movie is the realism, that this is not supernatural. This is not, a haunted house movie. This is just real life that when I saw the original, I felt like I could really relate to, and I feel like everybody can relate to. And the premise is that it's a home invasion movie. It's something that could happen to anybody, whether you're in an apartment or in a house, in a countryside or in the city. Random people just invade your space and start causing unbelievable horror in your life. And when I got this script almost 2 years ago, and when I opened the file, I realized the script was 280 pages long. And,
280.
280.
Wow.
And a normal script, just for those who are not completely in the know, a normal script is about 100, 105, 110 pages max. But this was 280 pages, and then I realized that this was an epic, a 4.5 hour epic that was going to be split into 3 chapters. And it takes the original film as its premise and then goes on from there to really develop the characters, which is rare in a movie, because you can do that in a TV series, but in a movie you have your 2 hours, unless you are one of those movies that is 3.5 hours long. But who can watch a 3.5 hour movie in one go? I don't know.
It's tough.
But yeah, but we split this into 3 movies, and we really explore more who these killers are, why they are, what they are, and also explore what it is to be a victim to this kind of random horrific violence. What does it do to your soul and body, and what can happen?
Was it always a conscious, immediate choice to split it into 3 films rather than going down the TV route, say? I mean, I know horror fits better into film. It just seems to fit better into film, doesn't it?
Yes. No, it was definitely always. The idea was really, Lionsgate decided to as studios tend to do, they mine past success stories, and the original Strangers is a great success story. And I think rightfully so, it makes sense that now there's a whole new generation who can enjoy this movie, and rather than say like, okay, let's do a sequel and just randomly go somewhere and the strangers show up and it's just a completely randomly different story, or let's do a remake, which is maybe a little boring. Let's just tell the same story again. They wanted to expand it and do something that is kind of new in cinema, which maybe has its roots in what we are doing now in streaming with binging stories and so on, and telling longer storylines. That why couldn't we do that with movies? And there's a much bigger story here that can be told if we can tell it through 3 movies. And I agree. I think horror works best in the cinema, because let's face it, I think that when people go to the movies, if you're going to go to the movie theater, there's a couple of types of movies. There's, of course, like some really huge, epic, whether it be a comic book movie or some historical movie or something that it just, you want to see it on the big screen. You want to experience the scale of that. And then horror is something, people go to the movies to feel something, to cry or laugh or be scared or fall in love. And I think that it's a safe environment to go to a movie theater where there are other people there. You can really get a kind of a great shared experience by screaming at the same places and laughing at the same places. And it's a really kind of a communal experience. And that's why I think horror films really work in the cinema and attract people to the cinema, because it's a real reason to let's go there and experience with other people really something horrific, yet we know that it's safe. And when the lights come back on, it's like we're okay and we can go home.
Well, it's kind of a release. I mean, sharing that experience of crying in a cinema is a great experience, but also jumping, and also there's also the cathartic sort of laughter that you have when you're jumped and you're scared. And there's other people that are in that same experience. There's actually a sort of another side to that's really fun in a horror film, and it's actually quite a light-hearted contradiction to the goriness and the shock. And
it's totally true, and you don't get the same if you're just sitting at home by yourself or with your partner. But in the movie theater, there's almost like this shared embarrassment that the filmmakers got you, that you go or you scream or you jump.
I was the one jumping, and there was other people that weren't. And I was like, they're definitely laughing at me as the sort of hardcore horror fans that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's then you share that laughter and you continue. So it's good. There's like a release, like you said, a little cathartic release, and then you go back up.
I mean, I think it shows a lot of foresight from the studio to sort of come up with this approach, and I really like the idea of having it in 3 different chapters, because sometimes there's this kind of approach to sequels of let's just make one and then just plaster something else together on top of it, and then it sort of feels like a Band-Aid on top of a Band-Aid and on a Band-Aid. And this sounds like a really sort of interesting way to develop a story with the same precision that you would a single story in advance.
Yeah, I agree. In a way, when you're doing sequels, and hey, I've done sequels. I did Nightmare on Elm Street 4, and I did Die Hard 2. But in certain way, you could say that it's kind of like milking the same cow, and just coming up with another setting. Nothing wrong with that. And sometimes if the audience loves the characters or the tone of a movie, then why not? But like you said, I think that what's special here is that, because usually a sequel takes 2 or 3 years or whatever to make and come out. The actors are older and they've changed and they are in a different place in their lives and everything is different. But here we're literally covering 5 days of events in 3 movies. So we really go on a journey with these same characters, and a lot of those answers that have been bothering the fans of the original movie, a lot of those questions will be answered in these movies. If you watch all the 3 movies, you'll understand a lot more about why and how and when and where.
So what was some of the input that you, as a director, writer, once you'd got this initial 280-page sort of master story, what were some of the things, like the directions and the angles that you were interested in developing and changing when you went through the sort of the splitting process and the discussions with the studio? My
main focus was to make sure that we keep the movies real. That's I think the attraction in the original film, and there were, I think that particularly in the second and the third chapter, there were some instances where I felt like the writers felt like bigger is better, and we have to make things more amazing, and it's actually non-characteristic for me, because when I make action movies, I definitely always think bigger is better, and if we can blow up a helicopter and a plane and a building, that's better. But in this
why not
one,
blow up too?
yeah. So in this one, I actually pulled back and I said, I think we should do less so that we don't ever just, think that it's, more is more, because with this world and the characters we are creating, it is the sense of reality and feeling like this could, this is not Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This is not something sort of fantastical, but this is just rooted in real reality. So that was my main focus, keeping it extremely scary, but in a real way. And then just how I photographed it, I wanted to have a certain style that, again, supports the reality, but because it's a movie, I want it to look beautiful in a frightening way. So I designed an arc for the 3 movies, how the visuals develop, how the style develops, how the lighting develops, and I think that when people see all the 3 movies, they will see how that develops in a subtle way. The color scale that you see in the production design and in the costumes and lighting and everything, it's so these details a normal audience member doesn't even have to care about or doesn't even notice, but at least I know that I thought about everything before I did it, and what the camera angles are, and what the rhythm of editing is, and what the music is like, and all that, to really I want to pull the audience into the movie and make them feel like they are really there living it.
So, let's talk a little bit more about the setting. Because that was the first thing that struck me, is what you mentioned about it feeling like a real place. Because you're not driving down a road and suddenly it's like, okay, we're entering horror land and it's like something unbelievably creepy. But there's that realness. I remember being in Georgia doing some location scouting and finding these kind of quirky, completely lost, hidden places in the mountains where you could just get completely lost. And they have their own character, and the people there are completely removed from everything. So let's talk about how you decided on this as a location. The set design you talked about. What you decided in terms of the visuals. How you put together those kinds of moods for the first film?
Yes. Well, first of all, nowadays it is very rare to make movies in Hollywood because it's just so expensive. And then there are certain places in America that are film friendly and it's a little more economical. Different kind of tax deals and stuff like that. Yeah, so we shot the movie in Slovakia, doubling for United States, Pacific Northwest, which it really looked like. And
I didn't even question that it wasn't shot in America. I just immediately assumed it was shot in America because people. I'm sure people realize it, that so many of the movies nowadays that they see are shot somewhere else but America, even if they take place in America. Yeah, you just have to do it for economical reasons. But then we started scouting for the necessary little town and buildings, and we thought that we were going to build much more than what we ended up doing, because we actually found a lot of things that really felt very American, and even the main house that is setting for a lot of the story. Yeah, so even the main house that is a setting for a lot of the story. We found the exterior of the house by coincidence. Then we added to it a little bit. We changed it a little bit, and then the interior we built on stage. But yes, obviously the place is so important. In our story, our young couple happens to be on a cross country trip, and they want to stop for some to have a bite to eat, and they go into this little town, and it really it's meant to feel like a town that we all have seen and we passed by or stopped for gas or whatever, and there's nothing weird about it. But of course, when you squint your eyes a little bit and you start looking around,
anybody could look suspicious. Anybody could look suspicious.
When you start putting it into someone's mind. Yeah.
Even if you do that in a pub in London, if you look at people, they start looking like serial killers really quickly. So you never know.
Yes. So let's talk a little bit about the cast. Was there any pressure? I mean, obviously with horror movies, the cast to finance a movie is less important. Like, how did you figure out how to find the perfect cast for this, and those kind of considerations about what you were looking for and what the studio was looking for?
Of course, the most central character in the movie is the young woman Maya, who is played by Madeline Petch, and that we felt was a very, very, very important piece of casting, of course, because she is the center of the whole story. So we had to find somebody who is a fantastic actor. If you think about the original film and Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman, they did a great job. They felt very, very realistic. Liv Tyler is gorgeous. So they were some big shoes to fill. Yet we wanted something obviously something different. We wanted the lead character to be attractive. So we met tons and tons of actors and did a lot of Zoom calls with a lot of actors. And then when Madeline got on the call and we saw her and listened to her, myself and my producer, we felt immediately we had found our leading lady. She was, of course, she's gorgeous, but she was intelligent, articulate,
emotionally capable as well.
Really, really, and it's not just that she's a good actress, but it is. When you see all the three movies, you realize it's a super, super challenging movie physically. We really put her through unbelievable torment, and pretty much every day of the shoot, she had to run, she had to climb, she had to cry, she had to, just really push herself all the time. So it was a super, super hard role for anybody, but she did a fantastic job. And once we found her, then we knew, like, what kind of a woman we have there, and then we had to find her boyfriend or fiancé, and Froy was another fantastic find for us. You really feel the chemistry between them, and they are this really wonderful, sweet couple that we wanted them to be. And then what people might not realize is that for the strangers, we also, though you see them with their masks on, it's not about having a stuntman just with a mask. It's like we really, really wanted specific actors, their physicality and how they carry themselves, how they express themselves, even if they are wearing a mask. It's like night and day with, stunts.
It's all body language, isn't it, for intimidation and uniqueness?
Yeah. And even if they, walk through a room or walk through the forest, it's just how they move that creates the tension and the fear. And we saw it concretely with some scenes when, it was a long night and we said, like, okay, all we have left is, like, this character is going to walk through the forest and do this. And like, maybe we can let the actors go and just do this with a stunt actor. And we realized we couldn't use those bits because even if, the stunt people are very capable and talented and everything, but it's not the same as playing a character. Yeah. So all of a sudden the walk is different, the hand position is different, the posture, the head, everything is different.
Yeah.
So the even for those parts, we really went through a vigorous casting process, and then same with all the secondary characters that are in all three movies. We wanted interesting, good character actors, again emphasizing the reality, not making anybody super creepy in a way that you feel like, oh, it's a horror movie, everybody looks like they are crazy, and at the same time finding personalities that are memorable. The moment you see them, you remember them. So it was an interesting process.
Is there, with a horror film, how do you sort of approach the rehearsal process? Because I mean, I suppose the villains are always very well planned. They know exactly what they're doing. They're completely in control. The actors aren't. I suppose the leads basically. So, do you tend? I mean, how do you approach throwing them into the situation? Is it very rehearsed, or do you try and keep a sort of a freshness for them so that they're not being overly scared in rehearsals and they're also finding it fresh when you're shooting? Like, how do you sort of navigate that?
That's a really, really good question. And we really didn't do rehearsals at all. All we did was talk a lot about the characters with the actors, and you're absolutely right. I think what works in a horror film so well is that the actors also are thrown into the situation for the first time. They pretty much walk into the house for the first time, like their characters would, and they look around and learn about the setting as we go. And when they come face to face with the killers for the first time, it really is a first time, and it is really scary when you look at this mask just staring at you. It really worked great that it was all like a realistic, fresh reaction to it.
And how do you sort of play with convention versus what's in the script, what's the expectations in the original versus what you want to do that's sort of new and different? Because it's obviously a balance with horror, isn't it? It's like people expect a certain amount, but they also like a bit of change. So, like for instance, the nostalgia and the playing of the records and the piano, like those kind of moments, I'm not sure if they were in the script, but they came out very well as kind of that edge.
Yes, I think that first of all, you're absolutely right that the scripting process was very organic. We of course had a script, but as we really got into it and we prepared the movies and started shooting them all three movies at the same time, it all evolved, and also the actors had a lot of impact on it. Madeline really became like our partner in developing the characters and the dialogue and so on. And I would say that my focus, besides all the character work, was definitely in figuring out what exactly to take from the original film. What are those kind of linchpin moments that I, as a moviegoer, when I saw the original, that I loved and feel that are really iconic to this movie, because this is not called Halloween and this is not called Nightmare on Elm Street, it's The Strangers. What are those things? And also having done actually very successfully a couple of sequels, like I mentioned, A Nightmare on Elm Street and Die Hard, I have this belief that when you have a property that you, whether it's a sequel or remake or whatever you call it, which I would say that ours is like a reimagining of the movie, there are certain things that the audience loved about the original. And if you're calling the movie The Strangers, you have to be somewhat faithful to those things. And you have to, like I used the term when I was doing Die Hard 2, I said, replicating the experience, not copying the experience, but replicating the experience, which is that there are certain characteristics, certain story points, certain moments that the audience is going to want to experience again, even if it's packaged in a different way and told in a different way. But like you mentioned, the record playing, I think it definitely became more part of the story as we were there. As the prop man showed me 20 different record players, and I picked this particular one, and that definitely became more and more part of the movie, and how the records are playing in certain scenes, and even using some of the same source cues that were played in the original movie. So that was definitely a thing, and some of the other moments when they are trying to escape the house and try to get out of there with the car, there are certain things that we definitely wanted to remind, and like the piano playing and the fact that which I found so horrific in the original, the idea that first you think that the strangers are just outside the house. They are knocking on the door and they're just kind of playing cat and mouse with you. But the fact that all of a sudden they are inside the house. And you don't know how they got inside the house.
Yeah.
Am I really seeing what I'm
are
seeing?
They a ghost, or are they actually there, or are they just so, it was horrifying.
So I wanted to give that, I don't want to tell here how it happens and where it happens, but all of a sudden, just when we are focused on them locking the windows and doors and making sure that whoever is out there is going to stay out there, all of a sudden you realize they are already inside. It's everybody's worst nightmare. If you think about your own home, if there's just somebody standing in the corner, what can be scarier?
It was. I mean, I remember seeing it in the mirror. It's a truly horrific, and the fact that they're not even doing anything, that is worse than them doing something.
Yeah.
But I like the music as well, because I think it adding some kind of warmth and artistic creativity also almost makes it more sinister and more human.
Yes, and you were saying about that, like how to play with the expectations and all that. It also applies to any scene where you want to build the tension and where you want to scare the audience. And I always say that doing a scary scene is very similar to telling a joke, because when a good comedian, when they tell a joke, there's a setup. You set up the situation, then you develop the story, and you build the expectations, and then you pay it off either with what the audience expected, or the punchline, or you twist it around and you lead them completely the one way, and then you surprise them that actually the joke is the opposite of what you expected. And it's very similar in horror. You have to have a setup, you have to build the tension, and then you have to pay it off. And sometimes it's you want to give the audience exactly, like, let's say, you put your ear against the door and you're listening and you're scared and you wonder what's happening there, and then the axe comes through the door, which in a way is exactly what the audience expected, but they still jump because it's so scary.
Yes.
Or then, you have a girl in the shower and you kind of expect that something scary will happen, but then you just, you mislead the audience to expect one thing, and then, she leans a little bit away.
Oh, that's clever, yeah.
And then there's just a person right there behind her, which is probably not what you expected, but it's very satisfying. So definitely that was my key focus, was in building those moments, because especially the horror fans, they are so accustomed to certain things happening in a certain way in certain situations that it's fun to sometimes give them exactly what they expect and sometimes lead them the other way.
Yeah. So let's go a little bit back to Die Hard 2, because that is one of my all-time favorites. And I think you were kind of in the golden age of action films. I think that back then action films, they had this kind of 90s Hollywood fun and a bit of cheesiness in a good way, but then they also had actually a drama film sort of plonked right into the middle of it. And I think you did, an incredible job on that. And I actually preferred the second film to the first one. Obviously, the first one's the one that everyone remembers.
Yeah.
But I remember really enjoying the second one. And it was one of a few sequels that I think, like Home Alone 2, Beverly Hills Cop 2, Lethal Weapon 2, Aliens, where you've basically taken, a formula and you've made it different enough to make it really memorable, and you've kind of built on what the original is. So, I mean, when you're approaching, action films, like, something like that, how did that come about, and how was that pressure to create something that was new and different in that space as well? I know it's going back a little bit.
That's really interesting. And I had to go back a little bit because you mentioned Aliens, which is one of my favorites and definitely one of the best sequels ever made. I was actually hired to do Alien 3 at 20th Century Fox. Yeah. And so I'm a huge fan of those films. That didn't work out. We weren't able to create a script that I would believe in, and I quit. And I thought I'll never work again. Yet the next day I was offered another movie also by 20th Century Fox, and this was The Adventures of Ford Fairlane.
Yes.
So I made this crazy action comedy music movie. Yeah. And in the middle of the shooting of that, we were shooting a scene and then broke for lunch, and my producer Joel Silver brought in a guest, and that was Bruce Willis, and he joined me for lunch, and I was like, okay, hi.
Lunch.
And that was a cool lunch, and we talked this and that, and I thought, well, he was just visiting because he had done Die Hard with Joel Silver, the same producer, and wasn't until after that Joel said to me like, yeah, I just wanted you to meet Bruce and have Bruce see, if he likes you, and he liked you very much, and we'd like you to do Die Hard 2. Right after this movie, when we literally, and so I of course jumped at the chance. I thought it was an amazing opportunity, and so right after I finished shooting Fort Fairlane, literally a couple of weeks later, I was shooting Die Hard 2, and it was a very tough shoot, very tough winter because we needed snow, and there wasn't any snow that winter. It was a really, really weird winter, so it was very challenging, and there were moments definitely during that shoot when I was just feeling like, I'll never get this done. I'm gonna die, and it was thanks to my producer who was like a rock behind me, and he said, "Don't worry about it. Yes, we are over schedule. Yes, we are over budget, but I believe in you. You have to fulfill your vision. Don't compromise in anything," and that gave me the strength to keep going. I was only like 29 years old or something, and in that movie, I must say that I really put everything I loved about action movies into that. And like you said, that was it was 89, and so it was that golden age of 80s, 90s action movies where we didn't have CGI yet, so everything had to be done for real, either with the actor or with stunt man or with miniatures. Like all the planes in the movie, all of them are basically, except when they get out of the plane and stuff like that at the airport. But if the planes are flying or blowing up or doing anything, crashing, they are models. But they were huge models. They were literally like, what would I say? The models were like at least 10 meters long.
Wow.
And so that way we were able to make them look very realistic, and if they are crashing or exploding, they feel very, very realistic. It's really, it was really a time when there was not yet formula like in today's world, where all the comic book movies and action movies, they follow a very, very simple and clear formula. And in those days, it was still sort of like leftovers, I think, of the 70s. Because if you look at 1970s action movies, they really were like dramas where you had like the main character could just die, or anything could happen. You just like, they were really, really great dramas. And so we were still able to have a certain degree of that sort of dramatic freedom, and then add to it just, really madcap action. And I would say that without taking credit away from anybody, I think that I had a chance to have a lot of input on the script. Steve D'Souza wrote the script for Die Hard 2, but it was very much a work in progress when we started shooting the movie and preparing the movie. And so I was able to have a lot of input in the character stuff. One big disagreement I had with Bruce Willis was that he wanted to pull the movie into more serious direction. And I kept saying, what people loved about the first Die Hard was this sarcastic blue-collar character that Bruce was. And I said, we have to give that to the audience. That's why they are going to come and see this movie, and we have to give that humor. So that was one disagreement, and which I thankfully won. And when I showed the movie to the studio for the first time, they loved it, and they said, do you have any more humor that we could, use? I said, I've cut even before we did the slating, if the camera was rolling and Bruce smiles for some reason because he's talking to his wife on the phone, I used it in the movie because any funny bit is there.
But it's perfectly balanced, and I think that's kind of it's the characterization that makes the funny moments and the sort of the cheesy moments not cheesy. They actually they're just fun. And I think now that's where things are lost, is because they try and manufacture sort of these funny moments rather than it coming from the character.
You are so right about that. I agree 100%. It really came from his character. It became from the fact that he was a, cop and just an ordinary guy, that he had a wife and had this just a built-in kind of a resentment toward authority and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So nowadays, you're right. It's like I read so many scripts where they just throw in wherever they think, like, oh, I can make a funny quip about this.
That's what ruins movies.
and it just doesn't come from the character, and then it just feels cheesy.
We're going to wrap up, but let's ask maybe one bit of advice about, I don't know, just breaking into the industry, and maybe if you could go back in time and offer yourself or a filmmaker starting out on how to get that first break or that first movie that's a success.
Whoa, that's a great question. Not something I can answer in 15 seconds, but
No.
we're just going to take the time.
Yeah.
When I was starting out, I came from Finland. So I'm a prime example of the fact that if I can make it, anybody can make it. I came from Finland, a country of 5 million people with non-existent film industry in those days. And I had big dreams. I wanted to go to Hollywood. And I just started making my own little movies, little short films and stuff like that, with my friends, and then some commercials, some documentaries, and kept writing. I kept writing and writing and writing. You got to write your own stories because nobody's going to come to you and hand you that perfect script to do. So that's the most important advice I would say. Write your own stories. If you have something to say, if you have something to tell, write it. And miraculously, I was able to then, by using my own money and my friends' money and my relatives' money, I was able to put my first movie together, and we were able to shoot 20 minutes of it, but it was a flashy 20 minutes of a lot of action and some style, and went to Hollywood with it. And miraculously, just because we didn't know the rules, we didn't know that you have to have a manager and an agent and a lawyer and relationships and know everybody, we just went there and we said like, hey, we are these guys from Finland. We are 23 years old and we are making a movie, and here's 20 minutes of it. And completely against all odds, we found a company that was willing to finance the rest of the movie, and we made the movie, and that became my first movie. And I moved to Hollywood, and it wasn't easy. It took years of hard work, but it worked out, and rest is history, as they say. The big difference, I would say, to those days in the 80s and today is that, we didn't have iPhones, we didn't have ways of visualizing our stories except with expensive cameras and expensive film. So I would say that anybody who now says like, oh, I don't have equipment, I can't make anything, it's so hard. I know it's hard, but if you have a story to tell, and if you have some talent, and if you have the energy, take your iPhone or whatever you have and your friends and just start shooting stuff. You can relatively inexpensively buy an editing program and use your laptop or somebody else's laptop and put something together. There's no excuse not to do it in today's world because the technology is available there. And, work 2 jobs, deliver pizzas, and do something else, clean some offices. You'll make enough money that you can make your movie. It can be 3 minutes long, or it can be 2 hours long. It depends what kind of a story you have to tell and how much patience you have and resources. But do something. You can put it on YouTube. You can show it to people. There's so many ways to do it now. If you have some talent, if you're willing to work hard, you will create your destiny. It's completely up to you. My biggest advice, if I could give advice to myself now when I was starting out, you have to learn it the hard way. I guess I would say don't trust people so easily, because people are out to cheat you out of your money and use you and abuse you and so on. So be careful. But the most important thing I say to anybody is like, you need luck, but you create that luck yourself. Yeah. It doesn't just come out of the sky. And you have to work hard. Okay. If you don't work hard, you will achieve nothing. Because remember, when you're sleeping, when you're just hanging out and doing nothing, when you're just, on your couch like a potato eating chips and doing nothing. Somebody else, somewhere else. It could be in China, it could be in Australia, or it could be in the next building over. Somebody else is working on their dream. So if you want to make your dreams come true, there's nothing that can make it happen better than hard work. And then if you have some talent, you will make it happen.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Best of luck with The Strangers, and I hope we can bring back the 90s action film as well.
We will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Real pleasure. Thank you.
Likewise.
Guess I was wrong about you. You're not such an asshole after all.
Oh, you are right. I'm just your kind of asshole.
It's suddenly gone posh.
I couldn't do like German bad guy, so I went with this sort of posh English bad guy because they were like the two favourites in the 80s, 90s.
They were.
And he's called Grant, so I mean, like, you know, I can't remember Grant and that line particularly, but I feel like that's what Grant might have said.
It's a famous line, but anyway, it works in this context. There you go. That was Renny Harlin chatting to Dom. So much fun, so interesting. What a character he is.
What a treat. Yeah, what a childhood treat.
Yeah. Talking about Die Hard too. I mean, it must have just been incredible to get that gig.
I know. Oh, imagine getting that call, yeah.
It wasn't that big a star, and suddenly, you know, in terms of a director star, he'd obviously broken through.
I mean, the story's in the podcast, but it sort of came in a roundabout way as well. It wasn't just like he's the natural guy for this action movie. And you know, and I said it on the podcast, like, as a kid, I always enjoyed Die Hard 2 more. I don't think it's a better film, you know, I think it's a different film, but because the first film was so iconic and I knew it so well, the second one, I don't know, just something about the tone I just slightly enjoyed more. And it was just like with Beverly Hills Cop, it's building on the original, and there's enough different there, and you sort of get to know the characters a little bit more, maybe, and maybe that's what it is as well. But to be able to do that and to, you know, at least match Die Hard 1, you know, I think it's an incredible achievement. And you know, some people don't give Die Hard 2 as much credit as it deserves, and I always have.
Yeah, I totally agree. And then to go on and do Cliffhanger.
Another classic.
Long Kiss Goodnight. Just absolute classic movies. Deep Blue Sea. Just wonderful. You know, what legacy to leave. You know, it doesn't matter what you do next. You did that.
You did do
that. It's just incredible. Yeah. Boyhood dreams of ours there.
I know.
Just wonderful. The Strangers is out in cinemas.
Chapter 1
of 3 is out in cinemas this Friday.
Well, it's a very original reimagining of The Strangers, and it's kind of it's taking a lot of what people liked and didn't like about some of the original takes on the story, and then it's adapting it into something and expanding it and looking at like where the story would go next, and that's how the anthology has sort of begun. Amazing.
It stars Madeleine Petsch, Gabriel Basso, the Richard Brake from The Dare fame. Obviously, the fantastic guy. Also, Rachel Shenton. It's been released by Lionsgate. It is in cinemas. The Strangers, if you remember the first films in the series, it's just creepy and weird and great and horrific. We will see you next Tuesday when we have another amazing guest. We'll find out who it is in the week, I imagine. We'll let you know. We've recorded loads of great ones. But until then, if you're lucky enough to rise up and do well, it is your duty to...
Oh man, I can't believe this. Another basement, another elevator. How can the same shit happen to the same guy twice?
Yes! Ending on a Die Hard 2 quote. Thank you everyone for listening. You're all superstars. We'll see you soon. Take care, everyone. Go make your films. Oh, and it's Cannes this week as well. There is our Cannes survival guide on the blog. Do check that out. And if you're in Cannes, I'll see you there.
Well, I won't.
Come say hello.
I won't.
Dom won't.
Can't
be there.
I can't. I'm doing a commercial, so, you know, it's sort of swings and roundabouts, isn't it?
But if you are going to Cannes and you do see me there, do come up and say hello. I won't bite. Or I might.
And remember to ask, more importantly, where's Dom? Cannes not the same.
Yeah. Cannes is not the same without Dom. That's technically true.
What a shame Dom's not here, etc., etc.
Etc., etc. Cool. Thank you for that. And we will see you next week. Take care, everyone.
Adios.
Bye.